Check. 1, 2.
Yeah. Penis butthole. Big pee-pee buttholes.
Liquid death.
No, but we were...
Are we rolling?
Yeah, we're rolling. But the wall itself was like a bitch to put up because it was like perfect dimensions. So like when I was squeezing it into the like corners, it was like getting annoying because I didn't want to break it.
How is it held up?
Oh, I screwed the fuck out of it. It's in like random places. I think there's a couple. I used black screws too. So, and I know like if I ever have to move, this is just gonna be a bitch to take out because I also drilled the shelving into the fucking the fake brick. Which part of me, like, I was doing it because I was like, I want to feel like I'm from Jersey, you know? Like, I want like the tri-state feel. Monmouth County.
Okay, my dad's from Mahwah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So.
That's South Jersey, right? Yeah. Okay.
South Jersey.
Yeah, that's like where Garden State actually is.
Yeah.
You know?
I was in Jersey in September, actually, or August.
Just visiting?
Yeah.
I
was actually there visiting some people that were doing an ESPN production.
Oh, nice.
Because I had just gotten laid off, and I was considering getting back into sportscasting.
Yeah, you wanted to get laid on. All right. Well, hold on. Let's do the intro real quick. Sorry. So for everybody, if you guys don't know, our guest today is Wolfgang Gohlke, right? It's Gohlke.
Yeah, you said it right. Yeah.
Okay.
You're like one of the few people that ever says my last name right.
Yeah, because, and here's the thing. In the military, you have such a wide variety of names that, like, you can read and be like, oh, I remember there was a dude that had a similar name to this that pronounced it this way, so I'm just going to go on a ledge here and do it. So they're like, people call you, like, Gohlke.
People call me Go Hike.
Gohlke.
Yeah. Gilkey. I had a guy when I played on the all-star football team in middle school. He was like, Gilkey. He was this Italian guy. He's like, Gilkey, get over here, Gilkey.
Yeah.
I'm like,
you expect it from those guys, though.
Yeah,
like,
they don't give a shit.
Yeah. Also, like they're also probably busting your balls.
Oh yeah.
Like if I ever met Joe Pesci, I'm calling him Joe Pesky.
Yeah.
Like 100%. I'm like Pesky. You know. Jeez. Hopefully, I meet him
Pesci.
Before he dies. But,
I saw him in the most recent movie he did, the
Irishman.
No,
dude, terrible.
You thought it was terrible?
I thought it was terrible.
I kind of liked it.
If you were to take out how old everybody was and like portraying, like I love Robert De Niro. Mm-hmm. I love Bobby. He's my boy. But like the scene portraying him kicking someone's ass at this current age, in this juncture of his life, is just wrong.
I saw him in a movie with Zac Efron where he's like,
oh, dude, Dirty Grandpa.
Yeah,
that movie rips.
I watched it while I was getting my haircut.
Yeah,
at Locals. Every time I go to Locals to get my haircut, they've got like different movies playing.
You got some good flow. Do you you have like a special order?
I usually just get like a high fade and then have them like trim the stash right up, like so that it's still over the lip but not above, because I think it looks creepy when it's above the lip.
Yeah. You're saying of the mustache, right?
Yeah.
I thought you were getting your pubes done or something.
No, that's another person. That's $80 every time, and then they make you lay back to get the butthole.
Yeah, they put you in the heel holsters or whatever.
Yeah,
like it's we actually bought this. It was fresh off of a OBGYN's office. They gave it to us for a discount, so we bought it up. Well, for everybody that doesn't know, Wolfgang, you do a variety of things, right? Most importantly, comedy at the forefront. DJ, is that only weddings, or do you do like other events?
Other events. It started out as weddings, but it's gone into just regular like holiday parties, or I'm actually doing like this couple that eloped for 10 years and never had a wedding DJ, or a wedding party rather. So I'm DJing like a party at Oceanic for them.
Oh, that's really cool.
So it's divulged into a whole bunch of different things.
Yeah, that's good though, right? Like, because I feel like if you're only like, have you seen that meme where he's like, like all the lights and lasers are going and like the beat's building, and then you're a DJ that's like, relax your anus, and then like that one girl's like, what? Have you seen that clip? You know what I'm talking about?
I don't, but I know it. I can imagine what you're
like David Guetta, right?
Yeah,
like there was a video of him, like this. It's like doom 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 doom, and then he goes, "This song I want to tribute to the what the fuck George Floyd family."
Oh wow.
which was just like such an inappropriate time for the music.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, dude.
That's an awful tribute.
Yeah, 2 weeks later, and then it's just fucking dum 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 dum.
Yeah.
That doesn't work.
No.
So I didn't know if like, and it's good that people are like essentially becoming a little bit more fluid with their DJ skills, right? Like, because it'd be really cool if you could do kids' birthday parties, because that's a huge market, I would assume.
Yeah.
But then also be able to do the weddings, the parties, and like still have fun shit to offer there.
Yeah, absolutely. Most of the so I used to do trivia at a venue, Lazy Pirate in Carolina Beach, and they had me do a bunch of like holiday parties and different things. And once the season gets back, going, that'll probably be the case. But it really is like you just get with like a venue, and they can, help you out with getting booked for things. But I'm actually going to the Wilmington Wedding Showcase. I've never been, but that's how you kind of get your name out.
Hold on. So, so it's just like a bunch of like wedding related vendors,
like caterers,
come together,
DJs, that kind of thing, and people go there who are getting married, obviously, to basically see all these different vendors in one spot.
Or there's a psycho that just goes hoping to pick up some brides. Or like women soon to be,
Well, yeah, a lot of times brides will show up with like their friends, or, their bridesmaids.
Well, I've heard like I know buddies that like what they'll do is they'll search on Facebook Marketplace women who are like selling wedding dresses in the hopes that they can like sway them. Like if it was a divorce situation.
Oh wow!
And they're like selling their dress. I was like, that's a very niche.
Oh, I see what you're saying.
Yeah, like he would berate these women.
Like Craigslist or something?
Yeah, no, this was just a fucking psycho.
Yeah, that is a little weird.
He's niche in his searches, but
it's like in Wedding Crashers when they're at like the funeral.
Yeah, all right.
It's like, hey, whether it's happiness or sorrow, like it makes women horny.
So how does it normally go? Like, all right, you're the vendor, you're sitting. Like, is this your first? You said this is your first one.
Well, this is the first one I've done in Wilmington. I've done them in Winston-Salem and in Greensboro before.
Okay,
yeah.
So you be you, and then I'll be I guess I'll do the wife first, and then I'll try and maybe cover down on the husband shit, because I didn't even really plan most of my wedding. My wife did. I just had to like forfeit money to this ceremony, right? Okay, so I walk up, and honey, this is a DJ. We need one of these. I'm sorry. What's your name?
Hey, yeah, my name's Wolf Gohlke with Spinfire Entertainment. Are you guys looking for a DJ for your wedding this weekend?
It's this
upcoming year. Yeah?
Now that you say it, the one thing we haven't booked yet is a very well-rounded, mustached DJ. Who won't jip us, but also will provide, like a facet of things, cool dances like the Cotton Eye Joe or, Indian dance. Oh my God, Indian dance. Can I say that? Can I still say that? I don't know. Native American dancing. We also like the cha-cha slide, maybe the Cupid shuffle. Are those things that you can provide to us?
I will play anything that you want me to play.
Oh, okay.
This is your day. We make it as special as possible. Have you had a chance to look at any of the other vendors by chance? Have you looked at?
We've actually looked at all of them, and none of them had quite a mustache that we were like really okay with tying to. So we were just wondering, like, are you on a list, or because there are going to be kids there.
Yeah, I'm actually going to that right after this. that specific list. I don't know why we have to go to my house, but
okay.
Yeah, no, the mustache is proprietary. It does come with.
We just don't want you to shave it beforehand.
I had a woman actually one time like literally request that I do not shave my mustache. It's always I'll tell you, the person you got to get on, whose side you got to get on, is the mother of the bride. That's the most important person you've got to sell.
Well, it's funny that you say that, because my mom is right here. Actually, this is Joanne.
Are you sure you're not the one that's getting married in the?
I don't like his mustache.
Oh well,
we can't just have wild facial hair at the wedding. This is your big day, sweetie. You can't just have why have the bald chin and then the hairy lip? I don't get it.
Well, we can work around that, miss. We can always have me wear a mask the entire time, or I can shave it. But
Oh Jesus, he's trying to go blackface.
I usually charge an extra.
He's trying to go blackface.
An extra $10,000 to shave the mustache off.
All right, and then the husband's just like in between.
He doesn't give a shit. He's just like, I'm only here because I have to be. And I'm.
Are you guys gonna play? You guys gonna play shipping up to Boston? That's all I care about.
Usually the dad will make like one really weird request.
Yeah.
And I'm always like, he's like, here's $50. I'm like, all right.
Yeah, can you play Michael Bublé? Which
Dance.
Michael Bublé's name is like so close to Booby.
Michael Bubble?
Yeah.
Yeah.
They had him running those seltzer water ads for a while.
Really?
There's a company, Bublé, and they had him like running the ads for that.
My aunt loves Michael Bublé.
Dude, any woman of, like if you were born before 1990, in love with that guy.
That like Frank Sinatra.
Oh, yeah,
like,
dude.
You know.
People keep sleeping on that. Dean Martin, fuck, who's the other guy? Put your head on my shoulder.
It's not Bobby Darin, is it?
No, that's this is gonna frustrate me now. I know it's an A. Shit.
First name, last name?
Hold on. This is why I brought this up.
Yeah, I get a lot of like Sinatra from the middle-aged men.
Got to. Well, here's the thing. Everybody keeps sleeping on Frank Sinatra.
But you were bringing up all those wedding
Paul
songs.
Anka.
Paul
I
Anka.
knew.
Okay.
Yeah.
But like Cotton Eye Joe, that's hit or miss. But
Yeah.
I always think it's a great song.
It's a banger
especially
for the
in like
kids.
the South.
Yeah.
Because North Carolina, like they like country music, they like Southern music.
We just had a DJ. So every year the Marine Corps will hold what's called a ball, and it's to celebrate the birthday of the Marine Corps. And it's hit or miss. Like I've been to one that was really fun. We had like Ronda Rousey. Like a dude brought Ronda Rousey as a date.
Oh wow.
They have since like discontinued like being able to bring
the dominatrix stuff.
celebrities. Yeah, and I was like, dude, I would. And my wife was there with me. I was like, I'll let her.
You're a big UFC
punch
guy
me.
too,
Yeah, punch me in the face. Like I will fucking suck her knuckles. But then and then like this last one was like the worst one I've ever been to. Not worst, but it was just like the most boring. The dude is like, all right, like the ceremony's over, and he's like, are we ready to turn this up? And everybody's like, woo! And then he just goes, 3, 2, 1, bow, now, now, now. Plays Tennessee Whiskey.
Oh wow!
Opening song, dude.
That's a bad opening song.
Yeah. We're like,
usually I'll open with like, it depends, but like September by Earth, Wind and Fire is is one that like brings all generations together. And then I might play like, depending on how the night's going, like Yeah by Usher.
Yeah.
Because then like people are into that. Or like Low by Flow Riders.
Okay.
Like, because like you want to play like real, it's like comedy.
Yeah.
When you open, you want to have like some good jokes right off the bat to get people, the momentum going. And then it's just about riding the momentum the whole way.
Zac Efron did a movie about DJing.
Really?
Yeah, I implore you to watch it.
Okay. What is it called?
And it's like, I think it's called like BPM or some shit like that.
BPM.
Like, so what he does is he's like this fucking DJ who's like calculating the heartbeat, and like he says he can control people's body movement through the tempo of the music. And he's like doing the actual DJ thing where he's like fucking doing the turntables. Yeah. It's a terrible movie, but I'm sure it was like you do this for us, we'll let you go on Baywatch.
Yeah. Well, he was, dude, he's been in a lot of movies recently.
I mean, he's killing it.
He's doing good. Yeah, I feel like mashups are good, but
okay.
So I'm looking more into that now because like when you do a wedding, at the end of the day, like people want you to play the classics.
Sure.
One song that kills all the time is Mr. Brightside. I don't know why that does, but it just it's
well,
like
because I mean you're not okay. Never mind.
No, what?
I was just gonna say, like sometimes it's just the audience, and I didn't know. To a specific audience.
Yeah, no, not necessarily. I mean, I've DJ'd all different types of weddings.
Yeah, I'm not saying like you're avoiding it.
The weirdest wedding I ever did was a Palestinian wedding.
Oh wow!
I did a Palestinian wedding in Asheville, and the only person I talked to was the husband. Like before this all happened, who was basically like guiding me on how this was going to go. And he was a white guy marrying this Palestinian woman. And I don't know how much he paid to marry her. But anyways, he didn't give me like any context or anything.
Yeah.
So, everything was going really well in the beginning. I did everything that, I had planned on doing. And then I started playing more like of the traditional wedding type songs that you hear. And the bride comes up. She's like, the music is terrible. I hate these songs, because they weren't Palestinian songs. So then they just started feeding me Palestinian songs. And one person came over to me.
Then you just turn into the person with the aux cord, though.
Yeah,
right?
Exactly. It's so annoying because I hate doing that, because I usually like have a pretty good like set list that I want to play. And then they just kind of kept feeding me like different artists and stuff. And one song I played, it came on, and they're all like, "You have to turn this off immediately." And I'm
Wet
like,
ass
"Why?"
pussy, wasn't it?
No, it wasn't WAP. It was worse. It was a song talking about like bombing Palestine or bombing.
Oh my god!
Yeah, it was so bad. And I
and
was
you were just like this.
At the end of the night, I'm like, "I'm really sorry if I offended you or anything." And they're like, "Oh, you didn't offend us. None of us are Jewish." And I was like, oh, "Jesus Christ." So that was fun. But yeah, I mean, I've done like primarily black weddings, Hispanic weddings, Palestinian, but for
those
the most
Hispanic
part,
weddings get wild.
Oh man, they love God, who's the guy? Bad Bunny. They love Bad Bunny.
Oh yeah. You play anything? Yo.
Yeah.
They immediately, all right, get up, let's go. Yeah,
And,
bring your fucking Modelo. I don't care.
And then like some people like they just want me to play like Fleetwood Mac or like country. I'm just like, but
those are the ones where they have the fucking they have suspenders.
But I try to advise the bride and groom like, hey, listen, just pick like 10 songs you want me to play.
Yeah.
And then I'll take care of the rest because you're going to be so drunk and not paying attention that you're not even going to remember that you requested any of that music.
Yeah.
Plus, your guests don't want to listen to the music that you like. They want to listen to music that is actually good.
That's a fucking valid point.
Yeah.
Because for our wedding, like I remember I was like big into Mac Miller and shit. So like half of the family just like wasn't even, they don't give a fuck. It was just like everybody that was like at that point 19 and below or at that same range,
Yeah.
And I was too young to be getting married anyway. My wife,
How
we
old were
were
you
both
when you got
very
married?
young. I was 19.
Wow. Okay,
Yeah.
you were young.
Yeah. We've
I
been
think the
married
youngest
for-
couple I ever married that I DJ'd was like 21 and 22.
Dude, we should get in business together. I'm an ordained minister.
Oh, really?
I'm not even joking. I've married 2 couples.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, dude, for sure.
Let's do it.
Yeah. Package deal.
Dude, we can make that shit lit.
Yeah. You only have to grow a mustache, though. That's
Yeah,
the
all
only thing.
right. Well, I know you've seen me with my mustache, right?
Oh, yeah, I have seen you with
Yeah,
a
man.
mustache.
I can grow a pretty thick one. The
Yeah.
only problem is that because of the military, it has to be within the mouth. So mine gets super
That's right.
Hitlery. So
Well, there's some
that.
weddings that might work.
yeah. We're big on German weddings, but for some reason we don't hit with the Hasidics. I don't know. It's just
open mic last week when I forget who went up there and made the joke about the Nazi getting sentenced.
Oh, yeah.
And then I was like, that was my great grandpa.
Oh man. So how long have you been DJing? Is that just like I would imagine it's a side gig or whatever?
Yeah, it's just a side gig. I started doing it actually right when the pandemic happened. So
Okay, cool.
Great timing.
Yeah. Empty. I think Empty, for everybody that's watching this that doesn't know, Empty, good friend of ours, he started doing a lot of those side hustles as well. So it seems like that was like the time where like everybody was like, oh shit, comedy's shutting down. I gotta make money somehow.
Yeah, it's funny because actually MT and I are supposed to be doing a gig together coming up in, I want to say it's in like September or no, it's November. But anyways, I started out, so the way I got into it is actually kind of funny. I went to an open mic like years ago in Winston-Salem, and it ended up like after 4 weeks, they were like, we're not going to do this anymore. Yeah. And I'd never like done comedy or anything at that point. And after that happened, I tried to do another open mic at another brewery. What they really wanted was trivia. So then I started doing trivia. And when I was doing trivia one night, the guy who owns the company that I primarily DJ through, Spinfire, his name is Todd, he was like, do you want to DJ weddings? You'll make like, over $100 an hour. And I said, yeah. So that's how I got into it. And right when the pandemic started was when I started doing DJing. So it's been since about April 2020.
Do they like provide the equipment and then you like, is there anything up front that you have to?
I bought it all myself.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
And that's just so like, you have your equipment, you can kind of get used to it.
Yeah.
Right.
That's how I have like branched out to doing all these other venues and things.
Yeah, that's really cool.
I, have my own stuff. And like I don't need someone to provide me with anything.
So you said live, what is it? Live? Spit Live?
Spinfire.
Spinfire. So they're essentially like booking you for a lot of this stuff.
Mostly weddings. But there's other things that like I do, like high school proms.
Now, are you going through them? for that, or is that kind of an outside
So what
venture?
happens is if somebody can like if somebody finds us on Google,
Sure.
and they reach out to Todd, and then Todd will book me. that
Gotcha.
way.
Okay.
Yeah. So,
Okay. And so they're more like the facilitator
Yeah.
for the bigger company.
Yep.
Or for the DJs or whatever. Okay. What's that Palestine wedding's fucking hysterical, dude. What year was that too?
That was this past summer.
Oh,
So it was
wow.
2022.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
All
I
right,
think it was like May 2022. Yeah.
Good there.
I tried to do a bit
No
about
Israelis
it.
there, huh?
Yeah. Yeah, I think it was the song was about bombing Israel. Not
Yeah,
Palestine.
that makes sense.
So,
Yeah.
yeah. But yeah, what were you gonna ask me?
I was gonna ask if there were like any like unfortunate things that happened at a wedding that you've had to like procure, like where it's like, you know, let's say one of the older family members is like having a fucking ball, and then out of nowhere they just start like,
Oh, like they pass out or something?
dude.
We have definitely had people who have like had to leave a wedding because they were like, too intoxicated.
Okay.
The weirdest thing, I DJ'd a wedding, and most of the weddings I DJ are in Asheville.
Okay.
And I was in Asheville, and I was at this venue I'd never been to before. It was a great venue, but the house, like the main area, was upstairs, like that. It overlooked the dance floor. And
Okay.
it was like basically the bridesmaids' room and
Sure.
and everything. And like towards the end of the night, the mother-in-law and the both mother-in-laws, like both moms, got
Yeah.
into a huge argument, and you could hear them
Ooh,
fighting.
That's spicy.
And it
dude.
was like, what is going on?
Yeah.
And that pretty much killed the
Did
party.
it
Yeah.
go like physical, or was it
I don't
only
know.
verbal?
It was just verbal yelling, like
Because
it
it's
was-
really cool for you to
yeah.
be the DJ, because you have no relation to anybody, so you just kind of get to stand there and like if if everybody's like, all right, so like everybody's fucking fist fighting or some shit out on the dance floor, you have the really cool opportunity to be to like
play Mortal Kombat.
where's DMX? Like,
Yeah.
let's get it jumping
Where's
in
Kung
here.
Fu
Yeah.
fighting at? Yeah,
Yeah.
that would be fun. I hope that doesn't happen because that's just a pain. But
Yeah.
I get what you're saying. One
Yeah.
time, these people wanted me to come DJ their after party, which was
that's
awesome.
cool.
Yeah, and they just paid me like $700, like right then and there, to basically do like an hour of work.
Hell yeah. That's an easy day,
yeah,
dude.
It was fun. So
You might even be able to. Well, I guess it's kind of nasty when you offer that, right? Like
I didn't offer it. They
That's
just
well.
straight
That's
up
what I'm
asked
saying.
me.
Like, if you were to
Yeah.
like say like, oh, by the way, you could look at the packages for after parties.
Yeah.
That doesn't. It seems disingenuous
Yeah,
when
it
you're
seems kinda
doing
like,
it that way.
why would there need to be an after party?
Yeah.
We're at the wedding, but
Yeah.
a lot of times the venues close at like 10, and they still
Yeah.
want to go till like 2. So
Yeah.
but the way our pricing works is like you pay one flat rate. We're your DJ for however long you want us to be your DJ.
Yeah.
So we don't charge by the hour.
Gotcha.
I only charge by the hour as like a sole proprietor. Because then I can like have a little bit more of an understanding of how long this is going to take.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So you started the open mic. You did it years ago. What year was that? What year would you say you kind of started devoting more time to comedy?
This year, actually.
Okay.
It's actually funny you say that, Nick, because the first open mic night I ever went to,
Yeah.
I met you.
Yeah.
And I talked to you briefly, and
Yeah.
then you were deployed like right after that. So
Yep.
that was whenever that was, April or whatever,
Yep.
was the first. This has been the first time I've really dedicated time to
Yeah,
it,
that's
like,
really cool.
consistently. When I did the open mic, that was in 2019. We did that for like 4 or 5 weeks. It was actually funny. I went to the first show. The guy told me to come back.
Yeah.
And then the second show, he's like, I don't really want to be the open mic night host. Do you want to be the host? And I was like, what? He's
I've
like,
never even done this
I
shit.
know. He's like, yes. He's like, you could do it. So I was hosting it for like 4 weeks. And it was tough because I had hockey broadcasts every Friday night. And the mic started at 11 o'clock on Friday. And so we just didn't like have enough consistency. But
Yeah.
there was another mic in Winston-Salem. It was called Monstercade. I
Yeah.
went to that one a couple times. Never went to the Idiot Box, but yeah, it wasn't until I moved.
I keep seeing that
yeah.
on like people's profile pictures, the Idiot Box.
Yeah.
It seems like a
real.
good venue.
Yeah.
But no, I do specifically remember that night because I remember your look that night was like, like this guy, he's interesting. So I was like excited to see your set, and I had only been doing comedy by that time I think 7 months, maybe something like that. Like I'm still very fresh, but
Right,
isn't it wild to like look at yourself then in like the sets that you were trying to produce, where now like a year removed or months removed, you're like, oh shit, I'm like getting good at this.
It's so different, like going into the club. Like I remember when I went into it that night, I was like, "Whoa, this is like overwhelming."
Yeah.
I was sitting there, I was so anxious. I was like, "I just want to leave. I
Yeah.
don't really want to do this." And now when I get to the club, I'm like it's like
Excited.
I'm
Yeah.
like, yeah. I remember because you did a bit. You were wearing I think you were wearing a Green Lantern
Yep.
shirt, and you made a joke about going and seeing Batman or
Yeah.
something.
Yeah.
And then you're like, "Yeah, I'm totally dressed for the event."
Yeah. That night, I was supposed to go see it, and no, I had to see it the night after. I was pissed because I wanted to go to it after that, and then I couldn't. So because my kids.
Oh, the other thing I remember about that night was there was this guy who I'd met who was also doing stand up for the first time, an older gentleman who I think also has a mustache, ironically enough, and he would bring like a whole group of people out with him.
Yeah, I think I remember who you're talking about.
So yeah, I don't even remember what jokes I did that night. I literally don't remember anything I said.
I remember almost my whole first set. I still have it recorded.
Really?
Yeah.
I didn't record it.
I remember my first night ever showing up. So, and this was like a year in the making, right? So like I have all of these emotions that I'm like, because I really do see this as my career going forward. My plan is to retire out of the military at 20 and then just completely dive into comedy. Huh?
You said at 20.
At 20 years.
Oh, 20 years.
Yeah.
Right.
So I'll be 38 when I retire from the military.
Awesome.
So I have
20 years. That's a long
8
time.
years left.
Okay.
But and here's the thing: if comedy picks up faster, I'll get out. I just don't want the insecure. Like, there's no reason for my kids to suffer for me to follow my dream, right? So if I can make both work, where I can get a pension and like they can have somewhat of a normal upbringing, not like ramen noodles and hot dogs every fucking night.
Yeah.
Which is just my thought process going into it. And it seems to be working, right? Like, it's not like one is parasitic to the other. I'm still able to keep both plates balanced. And so going there that night, I show up. I'm by myself. I did the same thing you did, lone wolf in it, right? And I'm like, dude, I can't do this. I was like, I can't do this. The difference was for me is that I didn't live in Wilmington.
Oh.
So I'm an hour and 15 away, and I was like, no, dude, you fucking pussy. You're going to drive home in silence and regret this for the next week until the next one goes. And then what are you going to do then? You're going to fucking do the same thing? And dude, I'm shaking before I go up, like nervous as dude, the most anxious I think I've ever been. And I've jumped off like high towers into like pools of water.
Yeah.
I've rappelled off like cliffs in Okinawa, Japan. Like, I've done some dangerous shit.
Wow. Yeah.
And that was hands down, like, as far as, because I think the cool thing about comedy is that you are alone up there, but the problem is that you are alone up there, right? So like, if you're not ready for that moment, it can be overwhelming.
Yeah. That's why I remember, at least I remember going into it, I had timed how long I was going to be up there. The jokes I had written, they were all just one-liners, pretty much. And I did it.
Yeah.
I did what I'd practiced, and it went well.
Yeah.
Because I have, being in television and stuff, like, you learn how to write.
Yeah.
And I think that's, like, the biggest advantage.
Yeah, and you can tell which people are still trying to pick that up. Because, when you hear the setup for a joke, but then there's no punchline, right? Because my buddy down in Puerto Rico right now, shout out to Eddie.
Eddie.
Yeah. He's one of my best friends. I've known him for 11 years now, and he's just started getting into it now. So him and I will actually have like little workshops, like on the weekends.
Yeah.
And I think by the time this comes out, it'll be a couple of weeks ago that he just started doing the open mics. But I can see it's really cool now being somewhat experienced that I get to like share just what I've learned in the last almost 2 years now to him, and like help him write. Because like when you write a joke and you're like you'll do a setup, and when you first start, there is no punchline, so you're just saying things.
Right. You're just sort of right.
You're just like, babies are naked.
And you're like, oh, wait.
And then everybody's like waiting for
babies are naked was the punchline.
Yeah. So, how old were you when you started
doing
comedy?
Yeah. 31.
And what brought you to it? Has it always been something that's
so
always been in the back of your mind? Or?
I always thought I could do it. Like I started out my career when I was 21. I was on I started doing radio play-by-play. I was on our local. It was called IMG Marketing at the time. Now it's Learfield because IMG bought Learfield and they just became Learfield. But anyway, I was doing the radio. I was doing television. But I always felt like it wasn't what I wanted to do because I didn't want to be a journalist. I wanted to be entertaining. Yeah. So I think when I moved to Winston-Salem, I watched this masterclass by Steve Martin.
Okay.
That actually one of my ex-girlfriends had bought me for my birthday. And I just a lot of the things made sense to me, but I didn't quite get it. And then when I started trying to do comedy, then it all kind of started to tie itself together. Yeah. It's kind of like if you read a book about doing something you've never done, it doesn't really make sense until you start doing it. Then you understand how to apply it.
Sure.
So
I feel the same way with dictionaries.
But when I got into doing the trivia stuff, that really helped because I was trying to make the jokes, the questions funny.
Sure.
And then the trivia ended up being a way for me to riff and kind of develop more of a stage presence and comedic presence. And then when I got here to Wilmington and they actually had a comedy club, I was like, this is where I should really try to do it. And then I was like, all right, I like doing this. I like the feeling this gives me.
So I would say you were set up for success. So I think having all that live interaction with an audience, I would say yes, that set you up for success. Did you find that the radio helped in the writing sense, and then the trivia is what really helped you be comfortable, right? You're nervous when you're first starting comedy only because of the material in your instance, right? You don't know if the material is going to work, or were you nervous also just because performance-wise? Definitely
was nervous just because it takes getting used to the fact that everybody's eyes are on you because when you're doing radio or television nobody sees you. Mm-hmm. So
but that's a very different because I remember I would do ads for this and not having that, the absence of an audience is almost, it fucked with me. I have to do so many retakes because I'm reading from a script, but it's you're trying to make it personal, you're trying to make it conversational. Yeah. But then you still have to hit those wickets. So for me, I'm constantly retaking.
I mean, I think, I've gotten older now, but when you're younger, you're just you have insecurities and you don't maybe have as much self-confidence and self-esteem. So as I've DJing a wedding is actually a lot of pressure.
Yeah.
Setting up and having all that equipment and there's a lot of expectations. So I think just being used to handling pressure. Yeah. Because obviously there's a lot of pressure.
Yeah, because for you it's your 9 to 5, but for them this is the biggest day they may ever experience.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think radio and TV help because you only have so much time on radio and television. So you have an understanding of how long is it going to take me to read this? Mm-hmm. How do you write? One of the best sentences or anything I heard about as far as being good at broadcasting was from Bob Costas, who was speaking at this event that I was at. And he said, you have to understand the economy of words, which is less is more. How do you say a lot with less? And so that helps with writing. Whenever I create a joke or something, I'm what word can I take out of this or put back in that makes this make more sense or changes? One word can change the entire setup and punchline of a joke.
Yeah.
And being able to have, be rhythmic and have a cadence. I think that radio and television, I kind of already had the cadence and the rhythm and stuff. So it was just a matter of being confident and delivering.
Yeah. So and the presentation of the words that you're speaking too, because even I'm now fucking around with looks and just getting laughs off of what I'm doing, not necessarily what I'm saying.
That's important.
And
the act outs and stuff.
and
that's another level.
So you speak of the Steve Martin masterclass. When I first started writing comedy wise, Ralphie May has this whole masterclass that he does at the Comedy Store. It's free on YouTube.
Oh, really?
It's like it's like a 3 hour something. I think it's like 3 hours, and I rewatch that every 7 or 8 months.
Oh, wow!
Because I forget shit.
Yeah.
Right. And then I don't believe in karma or anything like that, but I guess in some senses I do. But I think that the universe will kind of show you what you need to see when you're ready to see it. So I think when like bad shit happens to you, it's not necessarily because you've done anything bad or good. It's not like your repercussion, but I think things happen to you when you're supposed to feel or experience
when
something.
you're ready for it.
Yeah. So every once in a while, because when I watched it for the first time, I think I was like maybe 2 or 3 months into comedy, and like you said, you don't really get a lot of it until you start doing it. And now like I'm hitting some of these roadblocks where I'm like trying to write a certain way, because I have a bunch of like techniques that I've been trying too, which I picked up on. Joe Rogan had a couple of dudes on, British comedians, and one of them was
was it on the Jerry?
Yeah, he was a professor and was teaching comedy, and then I picked up some of like they would do improv drills like Worlds Collide, where you take two subjects, list them out, and then find what matches, right? What can you make funny? I have another one where I'll do two subjects, but then like it's essentially a quad box. So then you do, so like, let's say it's China and US, right? Like one box would be XX, another box would be XY, YX, YY. And then it's like, all right, well, what would China do to the US? What would the US do to the US? And then like now you just have all these like scenarios to kind of look at. So like writing wise, I revisit it because a lot of the shit that he says, I might not have even been privy to, because it's so much just in one little session.
Yeah, it's hard to absorb that much information like
at once too, man.
Yeah. I think the other thing is like, I want to come back to the Ralphie May thing because I have a funny story about Ralphie May, but for me, when I would go to the mics, all I could think about was like, well, how do I remember what I'm going to say? Yeah. And like you're primarily just trying to remember what you're going to even say. Yeah. But once you know what you're going to say, you're not like in a reactive state. You're like more in a responsive state. Yeah. And so one thing that I've started getting better at is picking up on when comedians will say something before me. How can I call back to that? Sure. And I had a set at Sammy's in Raleigh, and like, it just like I would hear something and I would be like, oh, I can work that into a bit that I already do. Yeah. And then like that really helps like expand the bits, because when you're getting, because you have a punchline. Yeah. And then people talk about tags and all that. That's how you like really bring up the joke, because then you want to laugh you can keep that momentum going if you're able to do that. That's really the trick. And then the act outs and stuff expand upon it more. And then this one joke that started as a one-liner has now become a 2 or 3 minute bit. And that I feel like is how jokes really that are good get written, because it's like a premise, then it's like a joke, and then it's like an act out and all that stuff. Yeah. And that's what I try and do. What was I going to say? Because I was going to say like hosting more now, right? Because you've done Dead Crow and all that. Doing those in-betweens, that's it. Like that's engraving that hand over fist. And that's a skill that you have to develop. You get to do that 30 times in one night. You could do a callback to somebody's joke, or just riff on it to keep the crowd going in between the next comic coming up, right? What I've been doing is when I write, I have 4 different colored pens. And this is when I'm really sitting. I've seen what you're doing. Yeah, that's a really good system. And I keep everything. Part of me feels like it's too much analytically. Like I have like all of this format to like hold myself to. But it really does. It helps. One, every time I rewrite the card, I'm like just reiterating it in my head. I'm like reinforcing it. But it's gotten easier now, so I don't necessarily have to write through that whole process. And now I'm like working on condensing. All right, I don't need to highlight which part is going to be an act out. But if it's a joke that I haven't done in a while, coming back to that card
it's like everything. So
Right.
it's just like, oh, okay.
It's like a template.
And then I forgot about this act out, because like sometimes I'll go back, and what I'll do on the cards now is if I've said that joke and I got a really big pop, I'll record, like I'll write on it what day and at what time in that audio recording I did it, so I can re-listen to it and like get myself back into what I was thinking when I said the bit.
Yeah, that's smart. I think that's super important too, is like I record everything now.
I record everything.
And I'm like, I can see where, like I didn't say it as fast, or I said it slower, or I said it this way. Like one thing I do this one like bit about CBD, and I decided to do like a different voice for like the guy at the counter, where I was like, the Delta 8, and like that like people thought that the voice was it was just funny because the voice was funny, but it made the joke that much better.
Punch it up.
So.
Yeah.
But Ralphie May. So when I worked in radio in Fairlawn, which is in between Radford and Blacksburg, so I went to Virginia Tech.
Okay.
And who actually upset UVA in basketball the other day.
Not big Asian fans.
Oh, jeez. Oh, my God. Anyways, moving on.
What, the balloon?
Yeah, they shot it down. A guy from Myrtle Beach took a video of it. It was you.
It was me.
So anyway, I'm working at the radio station, and I get a call because I was the producer. So the guy who I worked for, his name was Kyle Bailey. He's actually on WFNZ in Charlotte now.
Okay.
But we got a call from somebody, and I would screen the calls before we put someone on the air. And all of a sudden, I get this call, and it's Ralphie May. Yeah. I'm like, it's Ralphie May. And Kyle's like, put him on. And I'm like, Ralphie, do you want to go on a sports show? And he's like, no, I'm supposed to talk to Drez. And Drez is the guy that does the rock station 106.5 The Bear, and I guess he had missed his like remote with him, so he was trying to get in contact with us, but he was only there because he was doing a show in Roanoke, and so we were selling his tickets to the radio station. But that's the one time I ever talked to Ralphie May, was on the phone during the middle of a sports show called The Clubhouse with Kyle Bailey.
He's funny. I wish he was still alive, man.
Yeah, that's so sad.
We're losing a lot of the good ones, but well, I guess him we saw coming. But what are you gonna do?
Well, it's funny because people always ask me like, who are your favorite comedians? And then I'll tell them like, I love obviously like Dave Chappelle. I like Anthony Jeselnik a lot. In fact, I was trying to do like Anthony Jeselnik when I first started. Yeah. And a lot of people that would be like, my favorite was Mitch Hedberg, and I'm like, man, I'm like, everybody likes him. Like everybody liked his delivery and his style, like that one-liner style. But yeah, he's another one that passed away too soon.
I never really got into his style. Although I will say this, he's like impregnable when it comes to the material. I don't know. I just didn't. I'm more of a. I like act outs. I like doing like the Dane Cook shit. Like I like being a little bit more wild on stage.
Brian Regan, I always liked Brian Regan.
Yeah.
And Frank Caliendo actually was another one.
His impressions are
I've
fucking
seen both
dope.
of those guys live, and they're amazing. Yeah.
I want to start working on impressions because of Frank Caliendo.
Do you do any impressions?
I do a really good like Asian accent.
Really?
Yeah. You ready?
Yeah.
I don't know if I'm going to get canceled for this. All right. You ready? I took you down to the pub where we got our pixies, we got our knickers in a bunch, right? We went to the telly, called up my mom. She said she was going to slash us, right?
I thought that was
like that.
English or Asian?
No, I said, yeah, that's Asian. You want English? You want English?
Sure.
Come on, man. Why are we doing this? There's no reason for this.
That sounds like Moroccan or something.
No, this was one of my better bits that no, I got this. I've been watching a bunch of Cheeto Santino.
I'm not sure who that is. I'm sorry.
Fucking
I don't know people. Like people will be like,
name.
I watch this guy, and I'm like, I don't know who he is.
He's on Bad Friends with Bobby Lee.
And, I know Bobby Lee for sure. Oh,
Andrew Santino.
I know who he is.
Yeah, he did a bit.
Is he have red hair?
Yeah,
I know who he is.
Yeah,
he's.
He did that bit on his podcast.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it was just I was just reiterating.
Bobby Lee, was he on Mad TV? Is that right?
Yeah. Bobby Lee, big fan of the Asians.
Yeah.
He loves the Asians. No, so I will. I'm interested. Did you have a radio voice? Were you were ever on live air, or were you like? Did you work your way up through as like the phone call screener, and then eventually got your own show?
So for me, the way it started, it's actually funny. So the first time I was ever on the radio, I was 20, and it was for a high school football game.
Okay.
And I was actually like really stoned, and I was supposed to be like the color guy.
Yeah.
So I just like talked normal, but
yeah.
When I started out, especially on television, I almost sounded like Howard Cosell a little bit.
Okay.
Like, to the 20, to the 25. There's a flag on it. Like I did like have that broadcast voice.
Yeah.
And then as I've gotten like older and developed my own like personality, I've gotten away from that. But yeah.
Well, it's cool because it's like, radio, you can't see them, but you can know their voice.
Right.
Like I remember growing up, I could tell if we were on like The Rock or, the Rat Rock Radio, 99.9.
Yeah. The bit that I do about the strip club. So there was a guy, Drez, the guy I was telling you about, he did a remote at Southern Exposure, and he would talk like that. And I just like started making fun of his voice.
Yeah,
So
that's good.
Yeah. He's a nice guy. It was always funny. He was like, it's amateur night. It's Southern Exposure.
Yeah.
All right, come on out. We got Stacy, Lacey, Macy, Crystal, Veronica coming to the stage,
And there's always that time crunch too, so they have to speak faster.
Exactly, yeah. People don't realize. I used to do the weather. I'd come on and be like, this is your weekend weather forecast on the NRV's only FM sports station, Super Sports 101.7. And that's not like sped up. That's literally how fast I was talking.
And how, can we say this? How long are we going to wait until these fucking radio stations put all of these goddamn letters in?
Yeah, welcome back to WX4933785
WFNC. It's too long.
Yeah. It's usually like the call letters or like have something to do with the, area that they're in.
Yeah,
it's like the airports, right?
Yeah.
Like Wilmington's ILM.
Yeah, because it's all radio waves, guys. It's all radio waves. No, so how are you digging comedy, and where do you where do you see yourself here in the next 5 years or so?
Yeah, I definitely think it's what I want. I mean, I definitely know it's what I want to do.
Yeah.
I'm trying to get as many opportunities to get in front of a microphone as possible. Whether it's paid or not, it doesn't really matter to me.
That's
I just want to perform. I definitely feel like I'm starting to find my comedic voice.
Sure.
I still think I obviously have a long ways to go, but I like integrating some of my past jobs, like the sports. I want to figure out how to integrate that more. The problem with it is that I think sports is not as relatable to everybody as maybe I think it is, because obviously, like, sometimes I'll talk about something and you can tell nobody gets where I'm coming from.
I think that's also where Barstool has hit that
niche,
that niche. Well, because Barstool also, they sponsor a lot of podcasts, like the Mean Girls podcast and stuff like that. So they're branching out. So they're getting the female audience through them. And then if you notice now, anything with like Barstool, you can kind of associate with the bigger like brand in and of its own. So it's going to have some sort of sports relation, or one of the guys who's maybe really good at covering sports is close to it or something. They've done a really good job at branding that, but maybe like starting something where you can make that relation to, because there are plenty of female sports fans. Like my wife and
absolutely.
I'm not the only UFC fan in the house. Like my wife loves it. Like most mixed martial arts, we're just now starting to watch like more ONE FC. I don't really fuck with the like bare knuckle boxing. I feel like that's just dumb.
I'm surprised I'm not into fighting. I used to wrestle, which obviously is different, but like that's a big component of UFC. Like
Well, of MMA, like the best who have ever done it, John Jones.
Yeah.
Michael Chandler was the lightweight champ over at Bellator.
Yeah.
And you got jiu-jitsu. You can speak.
I tried that. I did Brazilian jiu-jitsu a little bit, but it was just like, it was tough because one, I used to wrestle, and like I would do so much illegal shit by accident.
Yeah.
And then it was like
that belt, by the time you get up to like black belt, everything's like, if you're competing, everything's fair game, right? But like when white belts, they can only do straight ankle locks. When you go to blue belt or purple, that's where like restrictions start releasing for you.
but I would work. I would be working like with people, and I would either be like throwing them around, or I would be with someone who was way bigger than me, and I would get like injured. And I was like, I don't know if this is like a good idea, because I hurt my knee one time, and I'm like, I don't want to.
It's it's one of those things where like when I'm rolling with the wrestlers, one I can tell because usually their takedown defense or their ability to take you down is a lot easier. But then once they get you there, they just hold, right? So like that's all it is, right? And they come to find out that like, oh, I have an answer for this, and now I'm gonna sweep you, and then I'm gonna choke the fucking boogers out of your nose. So yeah, I think finding a niche where you can, because we both lucked out. I would say we're relatively, this is the oldest I've ever been, but
you haven't been older than this?
No, no. I'm still waiting on like. Side note, I put my body up for science just in case they work on the super soldier serum. I'm not even joking. That's my
like
thought
Captain
process.
America?
Yeah. Like they start bringing people back from the dead or something, or like maybe they're, have you ever seen that movie Upgrade, where like they put the chip in the guy's neck and he becomes like a fucking AI essentially.
I haven't seen it.
Watch that movie. It's good.
Okay.
It's a good movie.
I just finished watching Alice in Borderland, which was a crazy movie or show.
Yeah. Is it that's an FX show, wasn't it? Something like that.
I don't know. I saw it on Netflix.
Okay.
Yeah.
But I think we both lucked out as early as we did in our adult lives, figuring out like, oh, this is what I want to do.
Yeah.
Right? Because now, like, when I explain it to my family, it's just like, yeah, I mean, this is the grind now. Like, now it's just how many times can I perform? And we lucked out. Like, Wilmington, we lucked out.
Mics.
There's a mic every night. It's like LA almost,
Yeah.
I've never been to LA, but that from what I hear, there's always a mic.
I would love to get another one going on Monday. And
so, what is it?
Reggie's.
Reggie's.
Are they still doing?
I don't know.
Oh.
I haven't been going to Mondays.
I don't know if that's a great venue for it. I went there a couple times, and it's just like, I think people are there for music.
Yeah. I've been looking into, there's a place here called Hooligans.
Okay.
They do live events, and I want to talk to the booker there to see if we could do a showcase.
So the old Dead Crow is now the bar at Underfront.
Mm-hmm.
The owner, Joe, I met him. He's interested in doing some stuff.
Interesting.
And there's a stage. It's not where it used to be.
Yeah. Because that's what I like about the Vibe. The Vibe
the vibe's great.
It's got a stage.
Yeah.
It's got, pretty good seating. More of a standing audience, but, I like the vibe there.
Yeah. No, it is. I love going there. I go there right after trivia. And
yeah, because I bumped into you a couple of times. So I wind up missing. So I try and get up at least twice a week. I always go to Dead Crow. So then it just turns into, am I going to Port City on Tuesdays or am I going to the Vibe on Wednesdays?
Yeah. Well, for you, it's tougher because you've got more.
Well, I also want to spend more time with my family. Like
Right.
It sucks because when I got back from deployment, I was hitting it hard. I was doing 3 days a week for open mics, and then if I had a show Friday or Saturday, it could be 5 days a week I'm doing comedy. Well, then it's like, all right, well, am I home or am I fucking deployed still? Because now I'm just like, my wife and I are on opposite schedules essentially. We'll both go into work. I get home, pick up the kids off the bus. She gets home. I'm leaving for comedy.
Yeah.
And that was like our schedule for like 2
That's
months.
Tough. Yeah. Does she not want to come? Well, I guess she has to be home with the kids.
Yeah. Because it's either that or now I'm losing money every time I go to an open mic
Right,
just to have a babysitter.
Yeah.
Which, I mean, I'm not opposed to, but I would much rather bring her to like the paid shows because one, it's a Friday. We can turn it into a date night. Like, I took her with me Saturday when I hosted, or not hosted, sorry. I was the guest spot for Curtis Cook.
That's right. Yeah. I saw that.
The only thing that sucks is that, you do the 7 and the 9:30. It doesn't leave you much time for date night.
Right. And the in between, there's not a lot.
It's not a lot.
Especially if you're like, every time I've done Dead Crow, I've been the host. So you got to be like there. You got to bring the person up. And so, also you got to keep time and all that stuff. So,
yeah. What is the like worst experience at a job site or workplace that you've had that you were like, God, I got to find something else?
Whew, man, that's a good question. Well, like my first job at a school was obviously I was on NBC doing sportscasting, and I loved it. It was amazing. There were some hard days. I mean, when you get into television, especially when you're starting out and you have no idea what the hell you're doing, you're working like 14-hour days just trying to make sure like the show is ready to go. But when I left, the first job I had, I was working at a warehouse, and it was like my first corporate job. And I was like, the first month I was there, I wanted to like kill myself. I'm not even joking. I had to go to therapy. It was that bad. So I would say that first month, trying to make that transition.
Would you say it was because of the workload hours or the staff or a conglomerate of all?
It felt like I was slowly dying and like not doing.
You looked around and you were like, dude, is this?
Yeah, like because you see people there and you're like, they've been here for 30 years, and I never had the intention of going there to be doing that job.
Cemented,
I was working in radio. Like in that same area, but that hadn't started yet.
Yeah.
So that was a terrible just experience being there, and I got out super fast. Like within a year and a half, I was out of that job. Yeah. But that was probably the worst. Like having a real job like that, I was like, I never want to have a real job.
I'm gonna be candid with you, man. I being in the military, I go through ebbs and flows. Some days I really love this shit. Like I love the weighted rucks. Right, like doing the David Goggins, who's gonna carry
Can't hurt me.
Who's gonna carry the boat shit.
Yeah,
I don't mind that. But I had switched jobs probably 7.5 years in. So each enlistment you do, not the minimum you can do is an extension, which would be 2 years, and then you can do a 4-year reenlistment, which is usually the average, and then you can, depending on what job you go into, you can do up to 5 or 6. And it was getting to that time where like I was like, do I really want to stay infantry? Because that's what I was when I first joined. And I was like, can I really keep this pace for the next 12 years? Like, is this what I want to do?
Yeah.
And I remember, dude, there was a day that we had a brief for the job I'm in now. And they were like, dude, it was like a radio ad for me. They were like, you like rucking? You want to make some extra cash going on single team deployments? You want to educate yourself and maybe do some college on the side? And I was just like, yes. And so they sold me on it, and I did the change in occupation. I've been doing this for 3 or 4 years now, and it's my mental health is solely on me. It's nothing really occupational. I have been a little burnt out, but I think that's just the military. Like there's a lot of times where we have to hot fill deployments or things of that nature where like, and what I mean by that is like, if somebody gets injured and they're slated for a deployment, usually we have one in the chamber ready to go in case something gets canceled or something falls through, right? So it's like similar for like Dead Crow, right? Like if, let's say the guest spot doesn't show up on the 7 o'clock on Friday and there happens to be a comedian there, like if Steve Mars is there, like I'm sure Amy would have hey, can you do 5?
Yeah.
But in this sense, it's like, hey, can you do 5 months?
Yeah, that's a little bit different.
Yeah. So I've done, 6 deployments. I'm burnt out 100%. And I remember like I started comedy and I was like, I know this is what I want to do. And I genuinely contemplated getting out at the end of this enlistment. But I was like, what am I like? Then what?
Yeah.
Like, what am I going to do? And then there was like a month or 2 where I felt like really lost because it was like, I don't know if my heart's really in this anymore. I really like this new thing.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. No. I was saying comedy. I didn't really know if my heart was in the military because, everything is like fucking life or death, man. That shit gets heavy.
Yeah.
It's so heavy. It's just like, if you don't do this, people will fucking die,
Yeah.
And
that's
I'm not saying that's like
responsibility and pressure.
That was more in the infantry. The job I'm in now is more of like the information realm. So like we're a little bit removed from it, unless you're like there on deployment. But I just remember feeling like why like I liked doing this gun shit, but like I love the gun club, and I'm just tired of like fighting. And I don't know if it was because of deployment pace, because I had done in 7 years, I did 4 deployments. In the last 3, I've done 2.
Okay. That's a
So
lot.
like
That's a
since
lot.
I've done comedy, I've been away from the United States 16 months.
Jeez. Whew. Yeah, that's a lot. That would definitely affect, like, especially because you're away from your kids and your wife, and you know.
It's wild.
Yeah, I don't
I
know.
remember, so my second deployment, I got back. I don't know if you were there that night, but I did a joke about 2018. I had gotten back from a deployment. My kids really didn't know who I was. That was all, like, everything I say in that joke was rooted in truth. Like, you get back, man. Your kid, like, now they're getting to the age where they can remember me. But, like, I deployed once with just me and my wife singly. She was here. And then before my second deployment, we got pregnant. So, and both of them were planned. So I could be back for the births. Since my second deployment, which was 2015, my wife has had to be here, like, in the trenches. I'm just removed in the trenches, like, with 2 kids, figuring it out, right?
Dude, that's
And
your wife sounds awesome, by the way.
She is.
She has to put up with all this shit.
Yeah,
like,
yeah. And then I have the like audacity to get home and be like, I'm gonna be a comedian. Like, I'm gonna also leave you because of this job, because it's my dream. But, you know, and it's not saying that it's not hard, but I'm trying to make both things work. Is what I'm getting at.
That resonates. I started working at Northwestern. So I was working at a startup company, and it was unfortunate, but with everything happening, like with the recession and the tech layoffs, we were a part of that. Especially because we were doing some stuff that was not. It was a little bit. In the beginning, there was no really regulations for it, and then when regulations and stuff started kicking in, things changed.
What do you mean regulations, though?
So
like,
we were doing something called income share agreements, which is a type of loan where somebody pays a percentage of their income once they get a job.
Oh.
So in the beginning, they go to some sort of, like, it could be a vocational school or like a software boot camp, something like that.
Yeah.
We front the capital for that. And then they would pay a percentage of their income to pay the loan off. But they only pay making a certain amount of money. It's supposed to be like, we're
not going to fuck you if you're not making that much money.
Yeah, if you're not making $60,000 to $70,000 a year, you're not paying us anything. It's basically the bottom of the rung. But, you know, there was other people doing this that were, like, totally off the rails, like just charging absurd amount of money. So regulators came in, things changed, blah, blah, blah. Anyway, so I got laid off, and then I got a call from Northwestern Mutual about working there, and that takes a while before you can, like, start working at Northwestern Mutual. So in
background
between,
checks and stuff like that.
Well, yeah, you got to get licensed and all this stuff. So I wasn't like I had enough. Like, I was DJing, I was doing the trivia stuff, and I was doing comedy. So then I became, like, really more into this, and then, like, the reality of, like, okay, now this job has kicked in. So it's been tough balancing both. But I'm trying to manage them as well. But the thing about this job is it's a lot of work to be successful. It's almost like I need to dedicate, 10 hours a day rather than just like your normal 7 to 8 hours a day. But the extra hours that I have, I want to dedicate towards comedy. So it's like balancing that. So
yeah, when you said income, that's why I laughed, dude.
Yeah.
Because when you said, what was the full word?
Income share agreement. It's an ISA.
I was thinking it was income share, which were like, that's why I laughed.
OnlyFans.
Because I'm a fucking child.
Inside me.
Yeah. Balancing, dude. And, like, I don't understand. Because, like, I remember I would listen to some comedians when they would talk on their podcast. Like Joe Coy, I'm a big fan of him.
Oh, yeah.
And, like, making that jump where, even for them, when they were, like, they were doing, like, they were successful comedians doing road dogging it, and then still, like, being scared to take that jump from their job. So I'm like, I'm worried that moment's going to come before I'm ready.
I think it's got to come before you're ready.
Yeah.
It's like the only way you'll grow into that is by having that kind of urgency.
Sure.
And I feel like that's happening to me right now with both of these jobs, like with the Northwestern job, is like I have to take a step back and I have to figure out like really how to make this work.
Yeah.
Because if I don't make it work, then like I'm in trouble.
And I like to think of it too as like, think of like the most successful comedians who are in multiple industries, right? Like Kevin Hart.
Yeah.
He's doing comedy. He's like releasing specials.
He's doing movies.
Running a business, because I think Fabletics is his, or maybe he's a partner of it. Those guys are so multifaceted because their ability to like focus on like, okay, this is my comedy hat. This is my, business centric hat. And like, he's creating a whole production company, and then now like using his status to bring up young comedians too, right? So he's also giving back to the community.
It's like one tide raises all the boats.
Yeah.
But I think another thing with that is he was, he became a really good stand-up comedian.
Yes.
And then he leveraged that ability into other things,
Yep.
which is ultimately what you have to do. Like you have to develop a skill that has high value that you can then allow yourself to leverage other things. So like once you're established as a comedian, it's like, well, then obviously you can have a podcast because like you have a fan base and those people will promote it on your behalf without you even having to do anything.
Yeah.
And then once you have a podcast and then you're a comedian, it's like, well, I'll release a sitcom or a series and like people will watch that. Like,
or maybe you dive deeper, like what Tom Segura and Christina Pazinski are doing. Like they have Your Mom's House Productions. They do multiple podcasts now, and then they do live podcasts where they show like unadulterated shit.
Right.
Right.
Yeah, that's a good point. But once you become like your own, it's like what Jay-Z says is like, I'm a businessman.
Yeah. Not a businessman.
Yeah. But I watched a movie the other night called You People, and the only reason I watched it was because Jonah Hill, Eddie Murphy, and Tina Fey were in it. Like, I would not have watched that movie if those people were not in it. But like, once you get to that status, like, you can take a lot more chances with those other things.
Yeah. What do you think the tipping point is for successful comedians to get into film? Do you think more of because like I spoke with Cam Smith, and he's always kind of been into videography and like working with cameras and like filming sketches, and then he also just happens to be like really good at stand up, right? Like I think that was his first love, and now he's like able to dip his toe into the like take his comedy, his love child, and then throw it into multimedia stuff. Where do you think that tipping point should happen?
I don't have like any experience with it, but if I had to like, the thing about Cam, by the way, like he is able to play like so many different characters. So like that lends itself to that style. Cause like, you think of like, he could do like a cartoon, like he could be so many different things. I mean, I remember when Dane Cook was like on a meteoric rise, like he just was going full tilt.
Good luck, Chuck.
And that,
vicious circle.
And then I don't know what happened to
so
him
apparently
after
some
that.
big shit went down with him and his brother, and then like his brother was like stealing money from him. It depleted him of funds.
Okay.
He had to like, I don't think he went to rehab or anything like that, but I think he had some issues in like therapy that he wanted to work through. So I think he took like a hiatus, but like he just released a special too. He's coming back. He's
really?
like, he's been doing the Comedy Store.
But I guess on that point, it's like, I think if comedy is not the same thing as being an actor.
Sure.
So it's like, if you're a really great comedian, I think the tipping point is, well, do you feel like you could take 2 steps back here, learn how to be an actor in order to take 3 steps forward?
Yeah.
So it's kind of like, do you want to leave what you're killing at to do this other thing?
Yeah, because when you think of, have you ever met or not met, but like, have you ever seen a comedian where you're like, oh, like I love their stand up, and then you see him in a movie and you're like, bah.
Yeah. Or the opposite. Like, I've seen Nick Kroll like in all these different things, but I've never been super into his stand-up. But like, he's hilarious in sitcoms and movies.
I think what's funny about him is that, and he's obviously more successful than I am, so take it with a grain of salt. But I listen to a lot of the podcasts of the like LA comedians and stuff, and like a lot of them say like, a lot of guys just ride on their notoriety. So they'll get the weekend gigs, but they're really not that funny because they haven't been working on the comedy. They might have started out in comedy, fun fact, I don't know if you knew this, but Michael Keaton used to do stand-up.
Oh, really?
Yeah, like
Okay.
Batman.
Yeah.
He started out at the Comedy Store.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
Okay.
I bought on Amazon. Showtime had done a documentary on the Comedy Store, so they covered like all of the ages, like all the way up until like now. Like I think it was done in 2020 during like COVID or whatever.
Have you ever seen that that movie with Ryan Gosling and
The Notebook.
no, it's not The Notebook. Russell Crowe. I think it's The Good Guys or something.
Yeah.
He lives. Russell Crowe lives in the comedy store.
Yeah, I love that movie.
Yeah,
that's a
good
really
movie.
good detective movie.
Yeah, it is a good movie.
It's like got
Yeah.
a good like funny balance.
Yeah.
To like the heavy case that they're supposed
Exactly.
to be. Yeah. Also, that opening scene, the coolest shit ever, because like the opening scene is like the kid going under his dad's bed or whatever,
Yeah,
getting
yeah.
the nudie mag,
Right.
and then like she's dead in the backyard,
Yes.
and he's like, whoa.
That is such a.
They should have just had him like just once.
They should have.
Yeah. Kids don't give a fuck, dude.
No.
Just ribs and dick at that
Oh
age.
my god. Jeffrey Dahmer.
So how have the shows been going for you? Recently, because I've been seeing you book a lot. Do you think? I guess this is more of a question. Do you want to start doing? Because I'm trying to get a couple of comedians together where we start road dogging, maybe going out to Greenville, start reaching out.
Yeah.
Because it's not that I'm over the Wilmington scene, but I think it's time for me to branch out and bomb at some other places.
I think that the reason I like doing it is because you do need to be familiar, or you need to get used to going to different places.
Sure.
And like being exposed to like different environments. Like I love Dead Crow. I feel like it's as good a place.
It's forever going to be my home.
It's kind of like
Comedy.
when you like if you're training.
Sure.
You want to make the environment as difficult as possible,
Yeah.
so that when you're in the actual environment, it's not as difficult.
Yeah.
And like,
that's why I like Port City.
yeah, and being at Dead Crow, it's like the optimal setting for comedy. But when you're at Port City, or you're at like Reggie's, or you're
Yeah.
in a sports bar, it's not the same thing.
No.
And you got to like work around that.
Yeah.
The shows have been going well. I mean, I feel like after every show I've learned something, and I'm just more motivated to
It's
get
good
better.
that you have that thought process, because I think we're similar in that sense, where like even if I have a bad set, it's like, all right, well, maybe I fucked the jokes up.
Yeah.
And I start looking inwardly, because I honestly I don't like the people that are like it's the crowd's fault.
Oh, that's the worst takeaway.
I hate that.
Yeah.
I hate that with a passion, because no, like if I could see, like there was a time I did I think I've talked about it a couple of times on here, but we did a pole dancing studio, and I didn't bring a mic, which was like the one thing you fucking need.
Yeah, you need
and
a mic.
Didn't bring it, so it was me, Calvin, and if I don't know if you ever met you met Garrett.
Garrett Lewis. Is it
Stewart?
Garrett Stewart. Yeah.
Yeah. But
I knew that. I don't know why I said Lewis.
We're all military
I
guys.
know a Garrett Lewis though. Yeah.
we all we're all here like in Jacksonville, so like the pole
Yeah.
studio's here, and I did a trans joke. It was a throwaway. An Army officer had gotten arrested for trying to sell documents of like U.S. generals to Russia. It just so happens that he was a transsexual, so I was like, the government's not even mad that he was selling the documents. They just like to stick to the standard of you can only change teams once. Throwaway joke,
Yeah.
right? And there was a trans person in the audience who loved the fucking joke. 3 of the fucking white Karens had complained that worked there and gave Jim, the owner, an ultimatum. Like, we want you to make a public apology or we're quitting. And he's like, all right, bye. And him and I are going back and forth the next day. I'm like, I'm not sorry I said the joke. I'm not. But I am sorry that you have to deal with this.
Yeah.
Like, I feel like this turmoil afterwards.
Yeah.
And it resolved itself, but because and he also knew he's cornered the studio game in that sense, because the next like pole dancing studio is like a couple of towns over. So like, what are you gonna do? You're gonna not come here for your
Right.
you live in Jacksonville, you fucking idiot.
Yeah.
Not that I'm calling women idiot. I'm just that specific woman. isn't
Yeah, I
it?
think that's just a case of like some people needing some validation for whatever
Yeah.
reason. There probably were other issues.
And even then, right? Like, so I
like
took.
the minute you can use something to like get what you want, people will do it.
Yeah. And I also thank Jim for not backing down because, it also takes a lot because, you hire comedians. You don't necessarily know what they're going to say, depending on the set, And we actually had to do like a quick swap because I had a dirtier set that I was going to do. And I had to change jokes real quick because while there were like two sections to it because it was a recital essentially with comedians just like sprinkled in between.
Mm-hmm.
And I was going to be I wasn't originally going to be the first one. I was going to close. And what happened was that I think we had to get switched up because Garrett and Cal didn't have any clean material.
Right. Yeah.
So I had to do it while like kids and stuff were still there.
Yeah.
So I still told the trans joke with the kids there, but
Okay.
whatever.
They probably didn't even get it.
No. And, once I did that, that's when like the time was, okay, like now we're going into our less PG dances.
Right. Yeah.
So, and even then, like you take, there are takeaways from everything. And that's why I like going to Port City because it's tougher. You're only like, barring like a busy night, like it's you and the other comedians performing. So I know if I can get a chuckle,
Yeah.
like a verbal chuckle off the comedians, I was like, all right, this has legs somewhere in it,
Yeah. I think that's one thing I don't do it on purpose, but I do try to be pretty clean.
Yeah.
I don't really swear a lot.
I think that's just a good rule of thumb.
But like,
Yeah.
I don't get like super. Some of the things I say, are a little bit edgier, but
Sure.
it's not like I'm talking about like
I'm
masturbating or anything like
that's
that.
all of my material. I freak out when I have to do clean gigs. So I'm like, oh fuck, I gotta clean some of this shit up. I don't believe in the once you start writing dirty, you can never write clean mindset. I think you can still work dirty jokes. Because I think societally too, we're like, it's becoming a lot more talked about. We don't have those like David Letterman shows anymore. Everybody's pretty aware about they're aware of masturbation, right? Like,
Right.
I think that's what's cool about the comedy now, as opposed to the early 2000s, the 90s, even the early like teens. Like comedy was still very clean in some aspects because the fucking networks had a chokehold on
I
it.
feel like Bill Cosby was, I know what now we don't think of him in that way, but
Yeah,
he
he's-
was like he even would rip other comedians for being dirty comedians,
Yeah, and
It's actually funny. I'm sorry, I don't.
No,
But
go
my
ahead.
grandpa, like years ago, when I told him that I was interested in stand-up comedy, he sent me a bunch of CDs, all Bill Cosby stuff. Like,
Oh.
that's how big a deal he was.
Yeah. Yeah, well, and back then there were so few, right? Like there were so few that had devoted their lives to it that they got really good. Like if you were to just take, because like then in LA, what we have on the comedy scene here is probably what was at the comedy scene in LA in fucking 1980, as far as like talent pool and all of that, right? So now there's just so many people trying to pursue the job itself that like it becomes very cutthroat, and then
It's oversaturated.
it's
too.
very oversaturated.
And a lot of it's like now it's like, how do you get big on TikTok or Instagram? It's not even really about being good at comedy as much as it's like, what can I say that's going to get
Yeah, I will say
viral responses?
I'm in between on social media because I think it is a really cool tool.
Oh, yeah.
Like that guy Trevor Wallace, I'm sure you've seen some of his videos. I thought he was a TikTok dude that got into comedy. He was a comedian before. He just knew how to market himself, right? And just kept playing around with videos. So what I don't like is, people starting social media and then thinking like, oh, it's just going to immediately translate to comedy. Like T.I. is doing comedy now.
Really?
The rapper.
Yeah, T.I., the rapper, yeah.
T.I. does comedy. Opened, I'm pretty sure, for like Donnell Rawlings and like he might have for Dave Chappelle.
I think Donnell Rollins was just in Good Nights the other
Yeah.
week. Yeah.
Ashley Larry. Love that dude.
Yeah.
Um,
Anthony Jeselnik was there too, I think.
Was he?
Yeah.
I'm excited to do Ralph Barbosa's coming to Dead Crow.
I saw that, yeah.
I'm excited
That's
for
the
that one.
February 10th, 11th?
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. I'm excited for that one. I guess I'm going to put you on the spot here. Do you remember any of your first jokes? Within the first 6 months.
Yeah, I did a joke about so it's funny because it was St. Patrick's Day.
Yeah.
I was actually on a date. I went on a date with this girl.
And you took her to the open
I took her
mic?
to a comedy club. I remember I think I ended on it and I was like, yeah, a lot of people like, it's St. Patrick's Day, which, tells you a lot about Americans because we basically just like take people's cultures and appropriate them to American culture. Like a lot of people don't realize that like nobody in Ireland nobody other than Americans says an Irish goodbye, right? It's very offensive to just leave a bar and not tell anybody. But no, they don't call it an Irish goodbye in England. They call it a French exit, and in Germany they call it a Polish exit, and in Russia you're not allowed to leave. So that was like one of my first jokes.
That's good.
Yeah. That I actually liked.
Because I'm trying to do, I'm trying to have people like kind of reminisce on their first jokes. I would say that's a pretty solid joke.
Another one I did, this was when right after Will Smith had slapped Chris Rock.
Yeah.
I did a joke. I was like, does anybody here watch Fox News? And everyone like would boo. And I'm like, you guys look pretty smart, so you probably don't. But there was all these headlines about like, the Chris Rock thing. Like MSNBC was like, there's some lines you don't cross, and the hairline's one of them. And then, NBC was on Will Smith's side. And then Fox News, they just wrote black on black crime.
So how does that work? So I've never been single in my adulthood. So like I try and think of, how does that work when you're like, all right, like let's go on a date. I'm going to bring you to the club and then you're going to watch me perform.
Yeah.
Do you feel gross when you do that? Or do you,
I don't
does
really,
does that open the door for you later in the night?
It doesn't feel gross. I think the reason that like I've done it is because it's convenient for me.
Sure.
It's like, well, I'm going there anyway, and like you can just come meet me there, and they serve alcohol.
Yeah.
And then it's always an easy pivot, like afterwards to be like, all right, now let's go like do something else.
Yeah, cool.
So I feel like it does open the door.
Yeah.
Because it makes the date last longer usually. Because like if you can go from one place to the next, it like kind of feels like you've been with the person longer.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Because I was gonna say, I've been with my wife for 11 years. I don't last long ever. No, but yeah, no. I always thought it was not necessarily weird. I just thought it was like, I know my wife probably doesn't like having to like come to the shows with me on a date night. But like I'm also, this is part of the grind. Like if I have to work, and if we're already gonna get a babysitter for the night, like.
I'll also say this: if like there's someone that's gonna be there watching you, you're gonna be a little bit more prepared.
Oh,
like you're not gonna just show up like
Yeah.
and be an asshole.
Do you? I'm trying to think. I'm gonna fast forward this. No. All right. Well, I guess. All right. So you bring the girl there, right?
But usually
she meets all your
Usually me, yeah.
Okay. You just performed. You're about to head out. What's Wolfgang's next move? Like, where are we going?
Well, usually I usually try to like see if they want to make out with me pretty quickly, because like
you like that set?
Yeah. Well, not even like that, but like just I don't know. I can tell if they think that like I feel like women are so attracted to humor.
Sure.
That like I know that if they think that I'm funny, they probably like me too.
Yeah.
So then it's like, well, why not just like take it to that next level?
Yeah.
And then the next move is to do. I think Whiskey Tango Foxtrot is a great place to go.
Nice.
They have karaoke.
Yeah.
And then I can do karaoke. And then the night just
More
becomes
humor.
about me, like just bragging about myself.
Yeah.
No,
Yeah.
I'm just kidding.
Then you're like, you see all these awards for my ESPN. In here, I got employee of the month.
Yeah.
I
Oh my
can-
God, it's so funny you said that. So I used to work as a server at a restaurant.
Yeah.
And I one day, so obviously my name is Wolfgang, but there was a girl that worked at O'Charlie's. Her name was Victoria Wolfgang, and she got employee of the month.
Yeah.
And everybody was like, dude, I saw that you and Victoria got employee of the month. I'm like, no, that is one person.
Yeah.
Like their name is Victoria Wolfgang. So I never got employee of the month.
Just drew a mustache on her.
Yeah. I didn't have a mustache back then.
Oh, okay.
I didn't actually have a mustache until like right before I moved here.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, I used to never.
You're like,
have
let's
one.
just change up the look in total.
Yeah, I just decided to start doing it. Yeah.
All right. Well, I had a fucking blast.
I did too. I
Thank you
really
so much for
appreciate you
coming
having
on.
me Yeah.
Where can they find you at?
Instagram is Wolfgang_comedy. I'm on Facebook as well. I have a Vimeo if you want to look at my old sets. They're on there.
Nice.
And then every Wednesday we've got trivia at Catawba. And then Spinfire DJ.com is if you need a DJ.
Hell
for us
yeah.
There. Yeah.
He's also doing cameos as the sports broadcaster for, what was the network?
NBC 29.
NBC 29. So if you guys want your favorite sports broadcaster from NBC 29 to do a cameo with your favorite uncle, aunts, nephews, things of that nature, he'll be there. You guys know where to find
Maybe
me
you should
at.
charge extra for that.
yeah. If you want him to go topless or something, I don't know. You guys know where to find me. Nicked at Night. Nicked_at_night, and that's not the symbol at. That's AT because I spell shit out because I'm an adult. And if you guys made it all the way to this part of the episode, you guys know we love you. Thank you so much. This was the Inside Me podcast. Inside us, inside me, whatever. Love you guys. Peace.
Peace.
Jacksonville, give it from stage next. Good friend of mine, finally back in town. Here we go for our next comedian, Mr. Nick Racioppi, everybody. These guys are the Nick Racioppi.